Hey y'all, so I've got these discovery documents to go over. Now, the date of these is going to be March of this year. So I found that interesting. You might have seen these documents before, you might not have, I don't know. It appears to me that they were modified in March at the very least, so we're going to go over them and we're going to talk about them. All right, so this is a 57-page document. It was in the recent file drop. It starts off as the state attorney. It says that it's from March 4th, 2025. The defendant is Stephen Michael Stearns, and it gives us the case number. This first page reads, if the requested records contain any of the following confidential or exempt information, it has been redacted or withheld pursuant to applicable law. And it tells us that active criminal investigation, intelligence information, and or substance of confessions, attorney work product, bank account, debit and credit card numbers, Department of Motor Vehicle information, identifying information of victims of sexual offenses and or child abuse, items sealed by order of the court, and some law enforcement reports were released in discovery with sections redacted by the Unit for Homicide Investigative Information. Page 2 is going to give us Mr. Stearns' arrest warrant. I'm actually going to make this smaller so you can see the whole thing. So there is Mr. Stearns' arrest warrant in all of his glory. It tells us that this is an arrest warrant, Circuit Court of the 9th Judicial Circuit in and for Osceola County, Florida. And it is the state of Florida versus Stephen Michael Stearns, who is the defendant. It is the Kissimmee Police Department. Gives us the court case number. He was born April 25th of 1986. He is a white male. His height is 6'2". He's 220 pounds. He has black hair and brown eyes. He has brown eyes because he's full of poop. It says to all and singular sheriffs of the state of Florida, special agents of the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, any investigator of the several states' attorney's office, and or any police officer of the Kissimmee Police Department, an affidavit or sworn complaint having this day been presented to me, the Honorable Judge Whitehead, in and for Osceola County, Florida, 9th Judicial Circuit, wherein it has been alleged that on or between error, reference source not found, and present in Osceola County, Florida, the defendant Stephen Michael Stearns did in violation of Florida statutes and commit the following offenses of sexual battery, victim under 12 years old from the familial or custodial authority. Therefore, you are hereby commanded to arrest instanter to said defendant if he or she be found within your jurisdiction and bring him or her before the proper court to be dealt with according to law. The said defendant shall be admitted to bail in the total sum of $0. It was ordered the 29th day of February by Judge Whitehead. This is the state of Florida versus Stephen Michael Stearns. Gives us his information. It says affidavit for arrest warrant. It reads the state of Florida, county of Osceola. Digitally appears the affiant, Detective Brian Moore, a sworn law enforcement officer to wit, an officer for the Kissimmee Police Department, who makes this affidavit and states under oath that affiant has probable cause to believe that certain laws have been violated in Osceola County, Florida, and that on or between February 22nd of 2022 and February 26th of 2024, the defendant Stephen Michael Stearns did violate Florida statutes and commit the offenses of sexual battery, victim under 12 years old for familial or custodial authority. Your affiant, Detective Brian Moore, is a sworn law enforcement officer employed by the Kissimmee Police Department and has been employed by said agency since April 9, 2018. Your affiant currently investigates crimes in the city of Kissimmee, Florida. Your affiant, in the course of his or her official duties, has come to investigate on February 26, 2024, at approximately 20 hours, Madeline Soto, a 13-year-old, was reported missing by her mother. The mother advised Madeline's stepfather, Stephen Stearns, picked her up from home and dropped her off at the school on February 26, 2024. The mother then went to pick up Madeline from school at dismissal and learned Maddie never showed up to school. An interview was conducted with Stephen. During the interview with Stephen, he provided consent to search his phone. However, he stated he accidentally performed a factory reset on his phone on February 26, 2024. Before we go to the next page, the thing that stuck out to me on this page is that it says on and between February 22nd of 2022, and February 26th of 2024, the defendant, Stephen Michael Stearns, did violate Florida statutes and commit the offenses of sexual battery on the victim under 12 years old. Does that mean they have evidence that he was abusing her in the early morning hours of the 26th? That's a question that I have from reading that. Is it just something they write because she was reported missing on that day, or do they have evidence that he abused her after midnight on the 25th, which would have been the 26th? It continues, upon reviewing the contents of Stephen's phone, several images and videos were located which depicted an apparent child with her breast, vagina, and back door as the focal point of the pictures and videos. There were also pictures and videos depicting an apparent child's front door and mouth being penetrated by a member. The child was later identified as Maddie, whose date of birth is. Metadata from the images and photographs described above shows that in August of 2022, Stephen inserted his member into the victim's mouth. A warrant was previously obtained for a sexual act that occurred after the victim turned 13 years old. I do believe it's 13. It's redacted. This warrant is to charge the act that occurred before on August 2022, when the victim was more than likely under 12 years old. Further, as your affiant was reviewing these images from the August 2022 incident, your affiant observed the characteristics of the room where the incident occurred. Previously, detectives of the Orange County Sheriff's Office were executing a search warrant at Stephen's home address which is the residence. This address is also where the victim, her mother, and Stephen live. Orange County Sheriff's Office took images of the layout of the residence. Based upon a review of the images from Orange County Sheriff's Office, execution of the search warrant at the residence, the room pictured in the images from August 2022 incident matches one of the rooms in the residence. Based on the totality of the circumstances, your affiant has probable cause to believe Stephen committed a sexual battery from the familial or custodial authority on the victim when the victim was under 12 years old. Detective Brian Moore is the affiant, sworn to and subscribed before me in the county and state aforesaid this 29th day of February 2024. Sergeant Perez signed it, placed under oath. Oh, he placed him under oath. Okay. Now we're on page 5. This is the City of Kissimmee Police Department, and this is an emergency warrant request cover sheet. And it reads, officers of Kissimmee Police Department are waiting to immediately, directly, instantly, and at once, without delay, proceed on this search and arrest warrant. In compliance with the 9th Judicial Circuit's warrant signing procedure, this cover sheet is attached to the request for emergency arrest and search warrant. The Kissimmee Police Department recognizes that an, quote, emergency, unquote, is, quote, an unforeseen combination of circumstances that calls for immediate action, and that law enforcement should seek emergency duty judge intervention only in rare and extreme circumstances where the law or totality of the circumstances requires immediate action, and that it must appear that the urgent circumstances are present and that lack of immediate action would result in the loss of evidence or the imminent escape of a suspect, unquote. And they have X'd the box that says the location of the suspect is West Colonial Drive in Orlando, Florida, and the facts justifying the emergency are in custody. Watch Commander Castellucci has reviewed this warrant and affirmed the emergency nature of the warrant, approving authority contact information. And it reads that it's a juvenile confidential. That was scanned March 7th, 2024. We have another arrest warrant. It's the same as we read, except this one includes a second charge, which is possession of material sexual performance by a child. That's the only thing that's different than the one we just read. So since we have a different charge, I will read this one. Starting at affidavit for arrest warrant, it reads, State of Florida, County of Osceola, digitally appears the affiant, Detective Brian Morris, sworn law enforcement officer to wit, an officer for the Kissimmee Police Department, who makes this affidavit and states under oath that affiant has probable cause to believe that certain laws have been violated in Osceola County, Florida, and that on or between March 20th, 22 to December 3rd, 2023, the defendant, Stephen Michael Stearns, did violate Florida statutes and commit the offenses of sexual battery from the familial or custodial authority and possession of material sexual performance by a child. Your affiant, Detective Moore, is a sworn law enforcement officer employed by the Kissimmee Police Department and has been employed by said agency since April 9, 2018. Your affiant currently investigates crimes in the city of Kissimmee, Florida. Your affiant, in the course of his or her official duties, has come to investigate. On February 26, 2024, at approximately 2000 hours, a 13-year-old victim was reported missing by her mother. The mother advised her stepfather, Stephen Stearns, picked her up from home and dropped her off at school on February 26, 2024. The mother then went to pick up the victim from the school at dismissal and learned the victim never showed to school. An interview was conducted with Maddie's stepfather, Stephen Stearns, who advised he picked the victim up and dropped her off in front of Peace United Methodist Preschool, and it gives that address, which was down the street from the school at 8:40. The school begins class at 9:30. A license plate reader captured Stephen's vehicle with the Florida tag driving away from the school at 8:10. During the interview with Stephen, he provided consent to search his phone. However, he stated he accidentally performed a factory reset on his phone on February 26, 2024. The same day, the victim went missing. Stephen provided his phone number. After an extensive canvass of the area and interviews with the victim's family and friends, it was unusual for the victim to be dropped off down the street from the school and not stay in communication with family and friends. Upon reviewing the contents of Stephen's phone, several images and videos were located which depicted the missing juvenile with her breast, front door, and back door opening as the focal point of the pictures and videos. There were also pictures and videos depicting the missing juvenile's front door and mouth being penetrated by a member. As such, the files depict the sexual performance of a child. Your affiant has probable cause to believe Stephen was in possession of material depicting the sexual performance of a child. It should be noted that the member observed penetrating the victim had distinct marking on it, which consisted of bright pinkish colored skin below the head of the member until approximately a quarter of the length down the shaft of the member. Several other pictures capturing this distinct pattern was observed on his phone. Further, as your affiant was reviewing the pictures and video, I was observing several different pieces of clothing, to include patterned underwear, shirts, blankets, and sheets. Simultaneously, detectives of the Orange County Sheriff's Office were executing a search warrant at Stephen's house. This address is also where the victim and her mother live. The detectives searching the residence were contacted and confirmed they found the same distinctive clothing in both Stephen's room and the victim's room. Based on the totality of these circumstances, your affiant has probable cause to believe Stephen committed a sexual battery from the familial or custodial authority on the victim. It was signed by the affiant, Detective Moore, and he was placed under oath by Sergeant Perez. And it was sworn to and subscribed before me in the county and state aforesaid this 28th day of February, 2024. So we've read that too. Okay, so this is the application and affidavit for search warrant. Digitally appeared the applicant, Detective Brian Moore, a sworn law enforcement officer, to wit, a lawfully sworn police officer for the city of Kissimmee, assigned to the Criminal Investigations Division, Kissimmee, Osceola County, Florida, who makes this written application and affidavit for search warrant and states under oath that the applicant has probable cause to believe that certain evidence, to wit, DNA genetic material, buccal cells from Stephen Michael Stearns, blood, salival, or epithelial cells to be collected from Stephen Michael Stearns, photographs and swabs of Stephen Michael Stearns' member, clothing worn by Stephen Michael Stearns, that is believed to be evidence of a felony criminal violation of the laws of the state of Florida, to wit, Florida statutes 794.011, subsection 4, subsection B, and 827.071, subsection 5, subsection A, prohibiting the crimes of sexual battery, possession of material depicting sexual performance of a child, currently exist within Orange County, Florida, which is presently believed to be under the control of Stephen Michael Stearns, and that the laws relating to said offenses are possessed on a person who is more specifically described as follows. Stephen Michael Stearns, date of birth 4/25/1986. He's a white male with black hair and brown eyes, and he's 6'2". The applicant, Detective Brian Moore, is duly sworn law enforcement officer for the City of Kissimmee Police Department since April 2018. Your applicant is currently assigned to the Criminal Investigations Division with the responsibility of responding to and investigating crimes to include, but not limited to, investigating miscellaneous felony crimes to include homicide, robbery, sexual battery, auto theft investigation, narcotics investigations, pawn shop investigations, burglaries, criminal mischiefs, and fraud. Your applicant is currently assigned to the Criminal Investigations Division since July of 2022. The applicant has received formal and practical training from the local and state law enforcement agencies. Your applicant graduated the Valencia Criminal Justice Academy in 2017, which consisted of 720 hours of training. Your applicant has had training in criminal law, speed measurement, breath tech operator, DUI trial preparation, field training officer course, interviews and interrogations, crisis intervention, instructor techniques, cultural diversity and de-escalation, and adult sex crimes, and first line supervision. The applicant has testified in county court. The applicant has assisted in the execution of search warrants during his tenure with the Kissimmee Police Department. The applicant has assisted in undercover operations. As a result of the applicant's investigation, the following specific information and evidence are known, which establishes your applicant's probable cause to support this application. And his narrative. Several other pictures capturing this distinct pattern were observed on the phone. Further, as D.S. Cole was reviewing the pictures and videos, D.S. Cole observed several different pieces of clothing, to include patterned underwear, shirts, blankets, and sheets. Simultaneously, detectives of the Orange County Sheriff's Office were executing a search warrant at Stephen's home address. This address is also where the victim and her mother live. The detectives searching the residence were contacted and confirmed they found the same distinctive clothing worn by both Stephen and the victim in Stephen's room and the victim's room. Based on the totality of these circumstances, your applicant has probable cause to believe Stephen committed a sexual battery from the familial or custodial authority on the victim. It should also be noted there were pictures and videos collected on several different dates over the course of approximately 2 years. Due to Stephen being the last person seen with the victim, and it is known there was ongoing sexual abuse between the two, your applicant is requesting a search warrant for the above described items. A search warrant is requested to collect evidence related to sexual battery, possession of material depicting sexual performance of a child. Wherefore, the applicant makes this application and affidavit for search warrant and requests the issuance of a search warrant in due form of law authorizing a search of the above described property by officers of the law for the evidence described above and for the seizure and safekeeping of said evidence subject to any subsequent order of a court having proper jurisdiction. It was signed by Detective Moore, sworn to and subscribed before me in the county and state aforesaid this 28th day of February 2024, and he was placed under oath by Sergeant Perez. Next, we have another search warrant. You can read it. It's the same as the other search warrants. I'm going to start where it says, and whereas the facts made known to me in said application and affidavit for a search warrant sworn before me have caused me to certify and find that there is probable cause to believe that certain evidence, to wit, DNA, genetic material, buccal cells from Stephen Michael Stearns, blood, saliva, or epithelial cells to be collected from Stephen Michael Stearns, photographs and swabs of Stephen Michael Stearns' member, clothing worn by Stephen Michael Stearns. This is believed to be evidence of a felony crime in violation of the laws of the state of Florida, to wit, Florida statutes, and prohibiting the crimes of sexual battery, possession of material depicting sexual performance of a child currently exist within Osceola County, Florida, which is presently believed to be under the control of Stephen Michael Stearns, and that the laws relating to said offenses are possessed on a person who is more specifically described as follows. Stephen Michael Stearns, he was born April 25th, 1986. He's a white male with black hair and brown eyes, and he is 6'2". Now, therefore, the law enforcement officer named above, with such lawful assistance as may be necessary, are hereby commanded in the daytime, nighttime, or on Sunday, as the exigencies of the situation may require, to enter and search the above listed person, to wit, taking sample of DNA material, buccal cells, through a buccal swab, which may be done by appropriate personnel and will involve no unreasonable intrusions into or upon the body of the person from which the evidence is to be collected. The person and evidence requested is reasonably believed to be engaged in or connected with said illegal activity for the evidence described in this warrant. And if the same or any part thereof be found, you are hereby authorized to seize, secure, collect, photograph, examine, analyze, and videotape said evidence. A proper inventory and receipt shall be given for any evidence or property seized, and a completed duplicate copy of the search warrant shall be delivered to the person in control of the property searched, or in the absence of any such person, a completed duplicate copy shall be left at the searched property or premises. an original of the search warrant, and a return reporting the execution of the search warrant, and an inventory of any evidence or property seized under the search warrant shall be filed within the court within 10 days of the date of issuance. It is further directed that any evidence or property seized under this warrant shall be brought before a court having proper jurisdiction to be disposed of according to law. It was ordered and sealed the 28th day of February 2024. So now we have a victim identification card, and it tells us the case number. The offense is sexual battery. It's February 29th, 2024. It's redacted, but we know it's Stephen Stearns. The victim received a copy of the victim's witness rights domestic violence brochure from the officer. Signature is unavailable. Victim's phone. It might be Maddie, but it says, per your request that the FSS 95254, this card is being sent to remind you that Stephen Stearns, the defendant, has been released. Okay, so it is Maddie. I apologize. That's why the signature is unavailable. So the only part I haven't read is part that's exemption from the public records disclosure. They have yes or no. Request that information which reveals my identity, any home or employment telephone number, home or employment address, or other information which reveals my identity, released or revealed through public records disclosure by the Kissimmee Police Department as contained in FSS 119.071. Signature is not applicable. Date of birth is not applicable. Arresting agency was Kissimmee Police Department. And then again at the bottom it says, per your request and the FSS 95254, this card is being sent to remind you that, and Stephen Michael Stearns' name is written as the defendant has been released on day, and it's blank. And then you have another, the same card, it's just sideways. Well, mine was sideways. I don't know why that one wasn't. This is from February 29th. It reads Osceola County Sheriff's Office wanted person table. And it tells us there's a felony warrant. Disposition is active. Wanted for a sexual battery of a victim. It's issued February 29th, 2024 and received the same day. Wanted person for felony warrant is Stearns Stephen Michael. It gives us his date of birth, his social security number, his address is redacted, his race is a white male. Details: issuing court, circuit court. Judge Whitehead. The Kissimmee Police Department is the agency. Officer Moore Bryan. Related incident. It gives us the case number. Bail amount is $0. Gives us the offense code. Involvements. It gives us his record. But both charges are from February 29, 2024. Tells us his name, Stephen Michael Stearns. The offense code. The description. Sexual battery from a custodian perspective. Victim is under 12 years old. Remarks: under 12 years old, familial bond of none, nationwide extension, and then victim notification there at the very bottom is redacted. And that was Thursday, February 29th at 20:06 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 2024. I don't know what Artinidad stands for. Now we have an incident or investigation report. It tells us it's the Kissimmee Police Department, the location of the incident. The crime is battery capital sexual, or BCS. The case number is 24-001809. The time reported was February 27, 2024. Last known secure, February 27, 2024. At the residence, it was not gang related. Says beat law agency was 50 going down to victim. It has redacted all of the victim information. It does say victim of crime number, and there's one because it was only Maddie that we know of. Others involved right down here. Code V victim, denote V2, V3, W1 is witness. IO is involved other. RP is reporting person if other than the victim. So IO, which is involved other, I'm going to assume that's going to be Jen. Their information is redacted. And I don't think it tells us anything else. It tells us that the officer ID for Clark and the investigative ID for Morris and the supervisor is Orts. It's an open case. March 4th, 2024. And that continues. Incident report. The only thing that's on this page is where it says assisting officer. Schaefer A.R., Owens J.K., Orch J.I., Illigan B.J., Morris M.J., Smallwood C.E. Suspect hate, bias, motivated, no or none. So it wasn't, she wasn't the victim of a hate crime. I'm assuming that's what that means. This is an incident report suspect list. It tells us that it is Stephen Michael Stearns. His date of birth is April 25th, 1986. He's a 37 white male. It says ETHN. I guess that's negative. Height is 6'2". Weight is 180 pounds. His hair is black. His eyes are brown. His skin is light. It gives us his driver's license number, and that's all that I see on this page. This page reads City of Kissimmee Police Department Electronic Incident Report Transmittal Form. It says, note, each officer completing original and supplemental reports must complete a separate transmittal form. It tells us the incident case number. The incident report type is sexual battery, original or supplemental. It tells us this is a supplemental. The date of report was February 29, 2024. Reporting officer was P. Wood. Routing is SAO is marked. It says this electronic report contains the following attachments: victims' rights notification, NCIC, FCIC entry forms, and other warrant. Number of pages including this form is 7. Signature of reviewing supervisory, and they signed it on March 1st, 2024. They swore and affirmed the documents completed herein are true to the best of my knowledge and belief. And it was sworn to and subscribed before me, a notary public under Florida law. Both done on February 29th. This is a case supplemental report from the Kissimmee Police Department. It says this information below is confidential for use by authorized personnel only. It tells us that the case management status is open and pending. It occurred February 27, 2024. Case status is open APS. The offense is battery, capital sexual. Investigator is Wood, PD. Supervisor is Smith, PC. Date of time is February 29, 2024, 21:04 hours on Thursday. Supervisor review date and time was February 29, 2024, 21:34 hours Thursday. Reference supplemental. It reads, on February 29, 2024, at approximately 19:30 hours, I, Officer Wood, drove to Osceola County Communications Center to enter a full extradition felony warrant for Stephen Michael Stearns, whose date of birth is 4/25/1986. Tells us his Florida driver's license number in reference to Kissimmee Police Department case number 24001-809. This was my involvement in this case. This supplemental will be forwarded to the state attorney's office. This is another incident report transmittal form from Officer Moore, and this is warrants. This is a case supplemental report from the Kissimmee Police Department. It says the information below is confidential for use by authorized personnel only. It is from February 27, 2024. Case management status is open pending. Case status is open APS. Offense is battery, capital sexual. Investigator Moore, Supervisor Brewer. And the date and time was February 29th at 12:21. Thursday, that's when the investigator Moore wrote it. Supervisor review date and time was March 5th, 2024 at 15:35 hours on a Tuesday. It's a supplemental report. It reads, on February 27th, 2024 at approximately 22:09 hours, officers of the Kissimmee Police Department responded to the address in reference to a mutual aid with Orange County Sheriff's Office. The Orange County Sheriff's Office was working on a missing persons case that was initiated in their jurisdiction. During their investigation, the Orange County's Sexual Assault Unit joined their investigation to assist with the sexual allegations that were discovered. The Orange County Sexual Assault Unit drafted a DNA warrant along with an arrest warrant for Stephen Michael Stearns. However, after further investigation, it was discovered that the incident location of the sexual battery occurred in Kissimmee Police Department's jurisdiction. The investigation was then transferred over to Detective Mark Morris as the lead detective. Detective Moore, was provided with Orange County's drafted warrants to transfer over into our format in order to submit the warrants through the e-warrant system. I submitted both DNA and arrest warrants, which were approved and signed by the Honorable Judge Whitehead on February 28, 2024. I went to the Osceola County Communications Center and had the arrest warrant entered. Stephen was transported by an Orange County deputy to the Osceola County Jail, where he is being held with no bond. This report will be forwarded to the SAO. Next, we have City of Kissimmee Police Department electronic incident report transmittal form from J. Arizari from March 13th, 2024. It is 1 page. It's a supplemental report on the sexual battery case. And that's all we have on that page of importance. This is the supplemental report from Investigator Irizarry from March 13th, 2024 at 22:04 hours on a Wednesday. It was reviewed by Supervisor Smith on March 13th, 2024 at 22:49 hours, which was also on that Wednesday. It reads, on February 29th, 2024 at approximately 4:16 hours, I, Officer Irizarry, responded to the address in reference to a follow-up. Upon arrival, I was advised I needed to hold the scene and not let anyone enter or exit the residence or disturb the crime scene tape. At approximately 5:23, I was relieved by Officer Neves. This is the end of my involvement. No body-worn camera was available. Next is the cover sheet for sexual battery from Neves. And that's all that reads. And then their supplemental case report was entered March 14th, 2024 at 1:39 on a Thursday, and it was reviewed March 14th, 2024 at 1:57 on that same Thursday. Their supplemental report reads, on February 29th, 2024 at approximately 5:23, I, Officer Neves, responded to the address in reference to a follow-up. Upon arrival, I was advised I needed to hold the scene and not let anyone enter or exit the residence or disturb the crime scene tape. At approximately 6:05, I was relieved by Detective Moore and Detective Soto. This is the end of my involvement. No body-worn camera available. This is the case electronic incidents report transmittal form, the cover sheet basically. Sexual battery case. This is going to be from Mr. Morris. And it's 1 sheet, including this. Mr. Morris's case supplemental report. It was entered on March 14th, 2024 at 10:24, which was a Thursday. It was reviewed March 14th, 2024 at 10:53, which was a Thursday. It reads, on February 26, 2024 at approximately 2000 hours, Madeline Soto, a 13-year-old, was reported missing to the Orange County Sheriff's Office by her mother, Jennifer Soto. Jennifer Soto completed a sworn written statement to Orange County deputies to the following. Jennifer stated on February 26, 2024 at approximately 8 o'clock, she saw Madeline getting ready for school. Jennifer stated Stephen Stearns took her to school and dropped her off close to the school. Jennifer said Stephen dropped Madeline off on the road between Town Center Boulevard and Hunters Park Lane. Jennifer said Stephen dropped her off between 8:30 and 8:45. Jennifer stated Maddie never made it to school. Jennifer went to the school around 1600 hours to pick Maddie up, and she never came out of the school. Jen stated she searched around the area and then went to her mother's office but could not locate her. Deputy Joseph from the Orange County Sheriff's Office contacted the on-call domestic crimes detective who investigate missing persons, who advised to send the report to the missing persons squad. On February 27, 2024, Detective Hunt from the Orange County Sheriff's Office received information that Maddie didn't report to school on the previous day. Therefore, Detective Hunt began his investigation. Detective Hunt interviewed Jennifer and Stephen during the initial phase of the investigation. During these interviews, Detective Hunt noticed some inconsistencies. Detective Tangler with the Orange County Sheriff's Office was also asked to assist with interviewing Stephen during the case. Detective Tangler would eventually become the lead investigator for the Orange County Sheriff's Office case. Detective Tangler contacted Stephen at the address. Detective Tangler was provided locations where Stephen's vehicle, the 2010 Silver Lincoln MKZ, had been seen during the time Stephen stated he dropped Maddie off at school. Detective Tangler confronted Stephen about his locations during the interview, but Stephen would provide answers that did not match up to his vehicle location. Stephen provided consent to search his phone. However, he stated he accidentally performed a factory reset on his phone on February 26, 2024. Detective Tangler asked Stephen a second time if he consented to the download of his phone, and he agreed and provided his passcode. Detective Tangler then proceeded to the security gate at the residence to review video. Upon reviewing the security video, Detective Tangler observed Stephen's vehicle exiting the complex with a female wearing a green sweater in the front passenger seat. The female was slumped over to her left, which is an abnormal way for a person to be seated in a vehicle. At that point, Detective Tangler decided to secure the residence at the address for a search warrant. The Kissimmee Police Department was notified and asked to assist with the case. Detective Smallwood responded to assist Orange County in the search. The decision was made to have patrol officers from the Kissimmee Police Department secure the location for the search warrant to be executed on February 28, 2024. On February 28, 2024, Detective Morris was called and asked to respond to the address to assist Orange County in executing the search warrant for their missing persons case. Upon my arrival, I contacted Orange County deputies who were waiting for their forensics unit to arrive and execute the search warrant. While Orange County was serving a search warrant on the premises, a subsequent search warrant was executed on Stefan's cellular phone. Upon reviewing the contents of Stefan's phone, it was discovered several images were saved on a Google Drive. A separate search warrant was served to Google, and upon the receipt of the contents of Stefan's Google Drive, several images and videos were located which depicted an apparent child with her breast, front door, and back door as the focal point of the pictures and videos. There were also pictures and videos depicting an apparent child's front door and mouth being penetrated by a member. The child was later identified as Madeline Soto, whose date of birth is... During this time, it was also discovered Stefan did not drop Madeline off at school as he previously stated. Based upon the contents of Stefan's Google Drive and the suspicious nature of Maddie going missing, it was decided that I become the lead investigator from the Kissimmee Police Department. Corporal Illigan and I responded to the Orange County Sheriff's Office, where deputies had already arranged for Jen and Stefan to be transported there for a press conference. I was shown the contents of Stefan's Google Drive, where one folder that appeared dedicated to Madeline contained over 1,700 files. A majority of these photographs and videos showed Madeline in different sexual positions. Based upon these images, Orange County detectives began to author an arrest warrant for Stefan. Due to the fact that most of these images appeared to have occurred at the residence of Jen and Maddie, probable cause was provided to Detective Moore and the Kissimmee Police Department. Detective Moore wrote the arrest warrant charging Stefan with sexual battery and possession of child pornography. While the arrest warrant was being written and obtained by Detective Moore at approximately 16:45 hours, I contacted Jen in a conference room at the sheriff's office. Jen was asked questions about Maddie being missing and the dynamics of the household. Jen stated her and Stefan had been dating on and off for approximately 7 years. Stefan had moved out of the home in the latter part of 2023, November or December. Jen stated while they were together, they would either all sleep in the same bed or Maddie would sleep with her when Stefan was not there. When asked if it was normal that Stefan and Maddie sleep together without her being there, and she said yes. Wow. I'm going to read that last sentence one more time. When asked if it was normal that Stefan and Maddie sleep together without her being there, and she said yes. Jen stated that if she needed a good night's sleep due to her anxiety, she would ask them to sleep in a different bedroom. Orange County detectives had previously shown Jen photographs of Stefan's member for identification purposes. Jen did not want to believe Maddie and Stefan were engaged in sexual activity. Jen asked to see the image of Stefan and Maddie. I pulled out a printed picture from Stefan's Google Drive that showed Maddie with Stefan's member in her mouth. Jen said she didn't recognize anything in the picture, as if she was in denial. However, she became visibly upset. I asked Jen additional questions unrelated to this particular case. I excused myself and told her that I was going to speak with Stefan. I contacted Stefan in an interview room at the sheriff's office. Stefan was asleep when I entered the room along with Corporal Illigan. After introducing ourselves, I explained the reason why we were there speaking with him. I read Stefan his Miranda rights, which he waived and agreed to speak with us. Stefan stated he had known Jen for several years and they had dated for most of that time. I asked Stefan what the sleeping arrangements were within the home. Stefan stated Madeline typically sleeps with Jen in Jen's bed. Stefan stated Madeline wanted them all to sleep in the same bed when he returned from being away for several months. Stefan stated Maddie always needed human contact when going to sleep. Stefan referred to it as, quote, snuggling, unquote. As the interview went on, I asked Stefan if Maddie has ever been sexually active with anyone in the past. Stefan stated there was an incident when she was much younger. Stefan said Maddie did something with a phone or camera, but she wasn't scolded for it. Stefan said she was very young when this happened. I asked Stefan if he provided Orange County deputies consent to search through his phone, and he stated yes. I asked Stefan if he had a Google account, and he stated he did. When I asked Stefan if he saved pictures to that account, he said sometimes. Stefan stated he did have pictures of him and Madeline saved to that account. When I asked Stephen about the pictures he had saved, Stephen then asked if he should be talking to a lawyer. Shortly after that, Stephen requested an attorney. Stephen was arrested for sexual battery from the familial or custodial authority when the victim was under 12 years old and possession of child pornography. A search warrant was obtained to collect DNA from Stephen. This warrant was executed by Orange County Detectives Forensic Unit. I was able to search through Stephen's Google account and observe the following videos or images. I'm going to give you a real heavy trigger warning, because the first time I read this, I just had to stop. Tells us the file name. Description: video file depicting a prepubescent female resembling Maddie, who would have been, I think 5 years and a couple months old. I'm not sure. It's redacted. Says X months old. Maddie is laying next to Stephen in a bed watching cartoons on the television. Stephen is asking Maddie to put his member in her mouth for 3 seconds as he counts. Stephen states Maddie would not be able to play with the phone unless she did it. God almighty. Next file. Next description. It says Madeline is approximately, I don't know how old. Stephen is inserting his finger into her front butt while she appears to be sleeping. The next description is an image file depicting Madeline approximately X years old. Stephen is inserting his penis into Madeline's mouth while she appears to be sleeping. Next image depicts Madeline approximately X old. Stephen is inserting his member into her mouth while she appears to be sleeping. Next file depicts Maddie at approximately X years old. Stephen is inserting his member into her mouth while she is underneath a blanket. The next file depicts Maddie approximately X years old. Stephen is inserting his member into Madeline's vagina. Identity is confirmed by a small birthmark that is right above her anus. The same mark is seen on several other photographs of Maddie. That's unredacted. I always thought that it was a mark on her face. I never seen the word anus in this before. So that's now unredacted. The next description is Madeline approximately X years old. Stephen is inserting his member into Madeline's anus. Madeline's identity is confirmed by a small birthmark that is right above her anus. The same birthmark is seen in several other photographs of Maddie. Description: image file depicting Maddie approximately X years old. Stephen is inserting his member into Madeline's mouth while she appears to be sleeping. The next image is Madeline approximately X years old. Stephen is inserting his member into Madeline's anus. Madeline's identity is confirmed by a small birthmark that is right above her anus. The same mark is seen in several other photographs of Maddie. Next one, description file depicting Maddie approximately X years old. Stephen is inserting his member into Madeline's vagina. Madeline's identity is confirmed by a small birthmark that is right above her anus. The same mark is seen in several other photographs of Maddie. There were hundreds of other images containing Maddie within Stephen's Google account, with most of them depicting sexual activity. A copy of Stephen's Google account was submitted into evidence. This supplement will be forwarded to the state attorney's office. Oh my God. This is the cover sheet, the City of Kissimmee Police Department Sexual Battery Supplement from Detective Smallwood. Detective Smallwood's case supplemental report reads that it was entered March 14th, 2024 at 13:42 hours on a Thursday, and it was reviewed March 14th, 2024 at 14:21 hours on a Thursday. And he says, on February 26, 2024, at approximately 2000 hours, Madeline, a 13-year-old, was reported missing to the Orange County Sheriff's Office by her mother, Jennifer. It gives us the case number. It says Jennifer provided a sworn written statement to Orange County deputies summarized as follows. On February 26, 2024, at approximately 8 o'clock hours, Jennifer saw Maddie getting ready for school. Jennifer stated Stephen Stearns took her to school and dropped her off about a block away from the school. Jen said Stephen dropped Maddie off on the road between Town Center Boulevard and Hunters Park Lane. Jen said Stephen dropped her off between 8:30 and 8:45. Jen went to the school around 1600 hours to pick Madeline up, but she never came out of the school. Jen stated she checked the area and went to her mother's office, which is located near the school, but could not locate her. Deputy Joseph from the Orange County Sheriff's Office contacted the on-call domestic crimes detective who investigate missing persons, who advised to send the report to the missing persons squad. On February 27th, 2024, Detective Hunt from the Orange County Sheriff's Office was assigned the case. Therefore, Detective Hunt began his investigation. Detective Hunt interviewed Jen and Stephen during the initial phase of his investigation. During these interviews, Detective Hunt noticed some inconsistencies in their statements. Later, Detective Tangler with the Orange County Sheriff's Office arrived on scene and was asked to assist with interviewing Stephen. Detective Tangler would eventually become the lead investigator for the Orange County Sheriff's Office case. Detective Tangler interviewed Stephen at the address. See Detective Tangler Supplemental for further details. On February 27, 2024, at approximately 2100 hours, I, Detective Smallwood, responded to the address to assist Detective Hunt and the Orange County Sheriff's Office with the investigation. At the time of my arrival, Jen, Stephen, and their roommates were out of the residence, and the residence was secured pending a search warrant. On February 28, 2024, the search warrant for the residence was executed. During the execution of the warrant, information was discovered from Stephen's cell phone, and it was also discovered Stephen never dropped Madeline off at school. At that time, Detective Morris was assigned as the lead investigator on the case, and the investigation was turned over to Kissimmee Police Department. This report will be forwarded to the state attorney's office. Next, we have an incident report that is completely redacted. Reads squad sex crimes and the report number, and that's about all I can see on that page. This incident report is completely redacted. It says suspect, defendant, victim, organization, victim 1, persons involved, vehicle, property, firearm, substances. Nothing is there. This is a narrative that's partially redacted. It reads background. This is the Orange County Sheriff's Office narrative supplemental report and incident report. It reads background. On February 26, 2024, at approximately 18:53 hours, the Orange County Sheriff's Office received a call for service referencing a missing juvenile. At approximately 19:48 hours, Deputy Frankie Joseph responded to the address in reference to a missing 13-year-old juvenile later identified as Madeline. Deputy Joseph made contact with Madeline's mother, Jennifer, who advised the following in a verbal and sworn written statement. On February 26, 2020, it says 2023, but it's supposed to be 2024. At approximately 8 o'clock, Jen observed Madeline getting dressed for school. At approximately 8:30, Jennifer's boyfriend, Stephen Stearns, took Maddie to school and dropped her off near the intersection of Town Loop Boulevard and Hunters Park Lane. At approximately 1600 hours, Jen went to the school in an attempt to pick Madeline up. However, Madeline never came out of the school. Jennifer searched the area for Madeline. After not finding her, she went to her mother's business office located at, and it gives the address. Deputy Joseph made contact with Stephen Stearns, who advised the following in a verbal and sworn written statement. On February 26, 2023, supposed to be 2024, at approximately 8:25 to 8:40, Stephen dropped Maddie off approximately 1 block away from her school. Stephen watched Maddie leave his vehicle and walk in the direction of her school. As Stephen was driving away, he saw what appeared to be Maddie searching through her book bag. Stephen did not think anything of it due to Maddie usually looking through her book bag to find headphones so she could put them in before going to school. Stephen then drove to the vape shop. However, it was closed and he drove to his residence. Stephen was home for approximately an hour before he traveled back to the vape shop. After buying vape juice, Stephen returned home and hung out with Jennifer. Stephen then went out to run errands and returned home at approximately 14:30 hours. Deputy Joseph then responded to the address with an Orange County Sheriff's Office K-9 unit to collect clothing articles belonging to Maddie and headed back to the intersection of Town Loop Boulevard and Hunters Park Lane, which was the last known location Maddie was seen, and began to track. The track yielded negative results. Madeline was described as, and it's redacted, according to Stephen and Jennifer, Maddie was last seen wearing a green hoodie, black shorts, and white Crocs. Maddie was entered into eMersource and later entered into Teletype as a missing endangered juvenile by Glessner. Maddie's BOLO number is... Deputy Joseph contacted the on-call domestics detective. It should be noted personnel assigned to the domestic crime squad conducting missing persons investigations. Detective Francis Hunt was notified and coordinated the initial patrol response, subsequently advising Deputy Joseph to route the report to the missing persons squad. On February 27, 2024, Detective Hunt was notified Madeline did not report to school. At this time, Detective Hunt made contact with Jen and Stephen. Please see his supplemental report for further details. Investigative detail. On February 27, 2024, at approximately 1600 hours, I, Detective Tangler, was notified of the missing person investigation and responded to assist with canvassing. I responded to the initial command post located at Orlando, Florida. Upon my arrival, I was asked to speak with Stephen Stearns and Detective Acosta. And the bottom or rest of that is completely redacted. The top of this one is completely redacted. It reads, interview with Stephen Stearns. On February 27th, 2024, Detective Acosta and I conducted a digitally recorded sworn interview with Stephen Stearns at the residence. Below is a synopsis of his statement. Stephen currently resides in Northport, Florida, comes to Kissimmee, Florida, occasionally to spend time with Jennifer and Maddie. On February 25th, 2024, at approximately 20:45, Stephen arrived at Jen and Maddie's residence located at the address. When he arrived, Jen was still at work and he directed Maddie to get ready for bed. Once Jen arrived, she informed Stephen and Maddie she would like to sleep in and directed them to sleep upstairs in the guest bedroom. The following morning, Stephen and Maddie woke up at approximately 7 to 7:15, and in order to get an, quote, early start, unquote, so they could purchase food from McDonald's before school. Maddie and he left the residence between 7:30 and 7:45 and headed towards McDonald's located at the address. On the way to McDonald's, Madeline slept the entire time. Once in the area, Stephen asked her if she still wanted McDonald's, to which she stated she did not. Stephen drove past McDonald's and headed towards the school. Stephen dropped Madeline off on the right side of the road near the community south of the State Road 417 overpass between 8:20 and 8:40. According to Stephen, Madeline was going through a, quote, phase, unquote, which led her to be embarrassed of his vehicle and did not like to be dropped off at the school in it. Madeline then informed Stephen she was going to hang out with her friends, and Stephen did not question it since it was not unusual for kids to hang out before school. Stephen let Maddie out of the vehicle and told her to, quote, have a good day, love you, unquote, to which she replied, quote, thanks, love you too, unquote. Stephen turned around and watched in the rearview mirror as Madeline rummaged through her backpack as she walked in the direction of the school. Stephen assumed Madeline was looking for headphones, but later realized she had forgotten her phone. Stephen continued to observe Madeline walk towards the direction of the school. At this point, Detective Acosta showed Stephen a map of the area where he alleged he dropped Madeline off for school. According to Stephen, he dropped her off on the sidewalk at the intersection of Lilac Cove Lane and Town Loop Boulevard. Stephen stated this was maybe the 5th or 6th time he dropped her off, and it was common for her to ask to be dropped off near the school. According to Stephen, Madeline enjoyed the cold weather, and at the time he dropped her off, she was wearing her hoodie. I asked Stephen if he pulled into the McDonald's plaza, to which he advised he did not, because she said she did not want McDonald's. I then asked if at any point he made a U-turn, and Stephen stated he made a U-turn at the church parking lot to try and, quote, sell her on McDonald's one more time, unquote, because he was still hungry. Madeline informed Stephen she just wanted to go to school, therefore they turned back around. According to Stephen, he made a U-turn in the church parking lot located at the address in Orlando, Florida. Detective Acosta showed Stephen a map that showed the school and McDonald's and asked Stephen to show him on the map his direction of travel. Stephen stated he was bad at reading maps, but that he believed they came across Town Loop Boulevard. Stephen then stated when he drives to the school, he usually takes John Young Parkway and makes a left turn when he sees the McDonald's on the same road as the school is on. According to Stephen, he uses landmarks to get to the school since he does not know street names. Stephen again stated Madeline said no to McDonald's and they had, quote, time to kill, unquote. Therefore, he made a U-turn, quote, probably by the church, unquote, and asked her if she wanted McDonald's again. When he dropped her off, Stephen asked her if it was okay for her to stay this early, and Madeline reassured him that she wanted to wait for her friends to get there. Stephen told her to have a, quote, good day, and I loved her, unquote. She said, quote, she loved me too, unquote, and turned around to leave and could see Madeline in his rearview mirror walking towards the direction of the school as she rummaged through her backpack. After leaving the area of Madeline's school, Stephen went to the local vape shop because he needed more vape juice. The vape shop was not open yet, therefore he went back to his residence at approximately 10 o'clock. Stephen hung out with Jen for a little while, and approximately an hour later, he went back to the vape shop. At this time, the vape shop was open, and he was able to purchase the item he needed. Around 11 o'clock, Stephen went back to his residence and hung out with Jen again. I asked Stephen if Jen was home the first time he returned, to which he stated, quote, yes, I think so, unquote. then stated he was not sure because she had a blood appointment at some point during the day and apologized, stating, quote, "Sorry, everything is a blur," unquote. Stephen then stated he believed she was home because she was trying to sleep in as much as she could because she was, quote, "messed up," unquote, with her work schedule. It continues. I asked Stephen if he recalled what time he went to the vape shop, and he advised he believed around 11 o'clock, stating it was only a 10-minute drive. Stephen stated the shop was called, quote, "E-Smoker Online Vape Shop," unquote, which is located at the address in Orlando, Florida. After making the purchase, Stephen returned home, where he remained until approximately 12:45. At that time, Stephen left the residence, heading to the area of US 192 to run several errands. Jen had mentioned to Stephen she wanted to make a BJ's wholesale club list and wanted Stephen to be back in time to go with her to pick Madeline up. While on US 192, Stephen visited some card shops because he is a, quote, "nerd," unquote, and there was a new card that had been released. Stephen stated he visited, quote, "Coliseum of Comics," unquote, stopped at a couple Targets, and was going to go to, quote, "House Rule Games," unquote, on Oak Street and US 192. Stephen advised he did not make it that far because he got a flat tire. I asked Stephen where he got his flat tire, and he informed me it was on US 192 and he had pulled into one of the plazas. Stephen then stated it had been about 10 years since he changed a tire, and he made many rookie mistakes in the process and ended up pinning his thumb between the jack and the frame. I asked Stephen which plaza he pulled into, and he stated he was not sure, but he believed it was before Oak Street. Stephen then stated he did not make it back in time because he got a flat tire, and Jennifer left to pick up Madeline without him. Stephen called Jennifer to tell her what happened and apologized profusely for not being back in time to go with her to pick up Madeline. Once back at the residence, Stephen hung out and, quote, "straightened," unquote, the apartment as he waited for Jen and Maddie. Jen then contacted Stephen to let him know Maddie had not come out. At this time, Stephen began getting worried and started to make phone calls to Jen's family, asking them to be on the lookout since she may be walking to them. According to Stephen, this is when, quote, "everything started going downhill," unquote. I then asked Stephen if it was normal for Maddie not to have a phone, to which he replied Maddie was, quote, "severely ADHD," unquote, as is her mother and he. Stephen advised due to this, it was not unusual for her to forget her phone. I asked Stephen if she was on medication for ADHD, and he stated she normally took her medication but had not done so the week prior due to her being at her grandparents' residence for most of the week, resulting in Maddie being, quote, "very spacey," unquote. As Detective Acosta was reviewing the map, Stephen asked if he had messed up his streets again and reiterated that he was bad about streets in the Hunters Creek area. I informed Stephen he mentioned he made a U-turn at the church to see if she wanted McDonald's again, to which he agreed. I asked Stephen if he had gone anywhere since they had, quote, "time to kill," to which he stated no. I asked Stephen if there was any reason why he would be back on John Young Parkway, and he stated they tried going to the McDonald's a second time. He would have made a left instead and looped around. I asked Stephen to show me on the map what he was referring to. Stephen stated he was originally going north on John Young Parkway, turned left at the McDonald's on Town Loop Boulevard towards the school, and made a U-turn at the median located at Lilac Cove Lane and Town Loop Boulevard. Stephen then went back to McDonald's with, quote, "still time to kill," unquote, and she again stated she did not want McDonald's, so he gave her a cheese Danish pastry he had from home. Stephen headed north on John Young Parkway, turned eastbound, stated she did not want McDonald's, so he gave her a cheese Danish pastry he had from home. Stephen headed north on John Young Parkway, turned eastbound on Town Loop Center Boulevard, and made a right turn towards the school. I asked Stephen if he recalled what time he dropped her off, and he advised he estimated it was around 8:20 and 8:40 hours. I asked Stephen if he had the Google Maps application on his phone, and he advised he did, but he was not mapping it at the time. At this time, I asked Stephen if he would mind if I looked at his map, to which he stated he did not, unlocked his phone, and handed it to me. As I reviewed Stephen's Google Maps, Detective Acosta confirmed once again the route he took that morning. Detective Acosta informed Stephen he stated he had gone up John Young Parkway through Town Center Boulevard and made a right onto Town Loop Boulevard before he dropped her off before the underpass south of the church. Stephen again stated Madeline enjoyed the morning walks when the weather was cold and how she did not like getting dropped off in his car because it was an, quote, "image thing," unquote. Stephen informed Detective Acosta the bell usually rings around 9:15 and he dropped her off that morning earlier than typical since they had, quote, "made really good time," unquote. Stephen again confirmed watching Madeline walk towards the direction of the school. I asked Stephen if he would mind if I checked if he was logged onto his Google account, and he replied he was not logged on, but that it was okay for me to check. While I looked through Stephen's Google history, Detective Acosta continued to speak with Stephen. Stephen advised Detective Acosta the morning he dropped Madeline off to school, she had her school laptop, which should still be with her. Stephen described Madeline's backpack as black with grayish hibiscus flowers on it. Detective Acosta asked Stephen if Madeline had ever run away for any amount of time, to which he stated Madeline was very dependent on them and would probably not know what to do if she were to run away. Stephen also stated Madeline was no type to run away and that she was a good kid. Stephen informed Detective Acosta that Madeline had been tested a while ago and showed signs of being on the spectrum of autism and had been diagnosed with autism, but was later advised she was not autistic. I confirmed with Stephen he used Google Maps for directions, which he stated, quote, yes, go places, search addresses, look at store hours, write reviews. It's a pretty new phone, though, unquote. As I looked through Stephen's Google Maps account, I noticed he did not have recorded travel on the account consistent with the driving he informed us he had done on February 26, 2024 and February 27, 2024. I asked Stephen when he returned to the area to assist Madeline, and he stated it was February 25th, 2024 at approximately 20:30 hours, quote, just in time to make sure she was doing all her nightly routines, unquote, as they waited for Jen to get home. I asked Stephen where he and Jen looked for Maddie, and he stated they stayed local. I asked Stephen if they drove anywhere, to which he stated he believed they had not, and Jennifer's family was driving around. Stephen stated he did not recall driving anywhere the night of February 26, 2024, and that he was, quote, socked out on Ativan at that point because he was a wreck, unquote, and that he was on so many tranquilizers. Stephen stated he had not needed to take Ativan in a while, but that he had been having these panic attacks and had been crying and took it to get sleep that night. Detective Acosta informed Stephen we were trying to establish a timeline of events, at which point Stephen interrupted and stated he was trying his best, but he was not a morning person and was trying to give his best guess. Detective Acosta then stated, we know he drove north on John Young Parkway. He made a left at the McDonald's, which Stephen agreed, and that he mentioned he had dropped her off around 8:20 and 8:40. Detective Acosta asked Stephen what time he believed he made the first left at McDonald's, which he stated it was either around 8 o'clock or a quarter after 8. Detective Acosta showed Stephen on the map the direction he stated he had traveled, which he again confirmed. Detective Acosta pointed out to Stephen the direction he continued to mention he had traveled was northbound on John Young Parkway. Detective Acosta then asked Stephen why his vehicle was seen traveling southbound in the direction of Kissimmee. Stephen stated he was sorry and that he had forgotten his, quote, gate clicker, unquote, and had driven back to his residence. Stephen advised he went through the front gate and had to use his parking pass to grab his clicker, and that he provided the wrong times because he was not a morning person. Stephen stated he had almost arrived at the school and they, quote, had plenty of time to kill, unquote, which is why he rushed back to get the clicker. I asked Stephen if when I looked at the surveillance for the complex, if it was going to show him entering the front gate with Madeline in the front seat, and he stated, quote, yes. Detective Acosta asked Stephen if he could not have just waited until after he dropped Madeline off to get his gate clicker, which he stated he could have, but he liked coming into the complex through the back gate because sometimes they were busy in the front gate and it was better not to wait in a long line. At this point, I noticed Stephen's phone only contained minimal data on its call history and appeared as if some of the messaging applications had never been used. I stepped away for a second as Detective Acosta continued to speak with Stephen. While I had walked away, Stephen informed Detective Acosta he had made a joke to Madeline the morning of February 26, 2024 about her Crocs since she wore Crocs and socks. Stephen described Madeline as a, quote, very good girl, unquote, who brought a lot of joy, and it did not feel the same without her around. Stephen stated Madeline had been so happy and she had been looking forward to him visiting and all of them being together. Stephen stated Madeline called him her, quote, bonus dad, unquote, advising they had a very strong bond and she knew nothing but love in the household. Stephen stated Madeline was doing good in school and she was also singing. He stated Madeline had sang for him and she reminded him of the movie, quote, Sister Act, unquote, and he told her he was very proud of her. I returned to speak with Stephen and asked him if he would unlock his phone again, which he did. I asked Stephen if he had stated did not have his phone the morning he dropped Madeline off. He replied he had forgotten it because he was too busy trying to get Madeline out the door. I asked him if he had his phone when he went to the smoke shop, which he stated he did not the first time, but he did the second time. I informed Stephen when I was looking at his call history, I noticed he only had a call log for February 27th, 2024, and asked if that was unusual on his phone. Stephen stated, quote, "No, it's a new phone and stupid. I went to do an update yesterday morning and I don't know what the fuck, pardon me, what the heck I did, but somehow during the massive iOS update, I managed to factory reset my phone and lose my contacts and information." I asked Stephen if he recalled what time that occurred, which he stated sometime while he was hanging out with Jen. I informed Stephen I was going to maintain possession of his phone at this time, and I asked him to please refrain from going back inside his vehicle. Stephen swore everything he told us was true. Detective Hunt stayed with Jennifer and Stephen. The bottom of that was completely redacted, as you saw. At this time, Detective Tangler, was assigned as the lead investigator to this case. Detective Acosta and I returned to the residence, and I asked Detective Hunt to ask everyone in the house to please exit the residence and to secure the residence. Interview with Madeline's mother, Jennifer. On February 27, 2024, Detective Acosta and I conducted a digitally recorded sworn interview with Jennifer at the address. Below is a synopsis of her statement. I introduced myself to Jennifer and informed her I was going to be the lead detective on this investigation. I informed Jennifer that Detective Hunt had provided me with a synopsis of what had occurred the day Madeline went missing. I informed Jennifer I had been advised she had a new job and that she had asked Madeline and Stephen to sleep upstairs because she needed to get rest, which she stated that was correct. According to Jennifer, Madeline had her birthday party on February 25th, 2024, beginning at 1500 hours and ending at an unknown time. Jennifer had not attended due to being at work. Jennifer advised her sister had dropped Madeline off at her house at approximately 20-30 hours. She believed Stephen had arrived shortly after that time. Stephen informed Jennifer that Madeline had taken her nighttime medication and was getting ready for bed, which consisted of taking a shower. Jennifer arrived at the house from work at approximately 22-30 hours and sent Madeline and Stephen to bed at approximately 2300 hours. I asked Jennifer where Madeline and Stephen slept, and she stated upstairs in bedroom number 4. I asked Jennifer if it was normal for Stephen and Madeline to sleep in the same room, which she stated sometimes she would send them upstairs when she needed a really good night's sleep. Jennifer also advised sometimes they would all sleep together in the king-size bed, and at other times Stephen would sleep upstairs, meaning Madeline and she would sleep alone. Jennifer advised it usually depended on everyone's schedule the following day. I asked Jennifer what time she had woken up on February 26, 2024, to which she stated she believed sometime between 8 and 8:15 hours because Stephen had gone into the room to put the leash on the dog. Jennifer got up to assist Stephen with placing the leash on the dog because she did not want him to pee on the bed. Jennifer heard people in the kitchen, and as far as she knew, Madeline had gone downstairs to get ready for school. Jennifer then stated Madeline had a makeshift room in the living room that had a television, a desk, a dresser, and a bed. Madeline only used this room to hang out and would never sleep there. I asked Jennifer if she visually observed Madeline on the morning of February 26, 2024, to which she stated, quote, "No," unquote. I asked if she had heard her, and she stated she had heard people in the kitchen but was not sure if it was her specifically. Jennifer then stated the last time she had physically seen Madeline was on February 25th, 2024 at 2300 hours when she had sent her to her bed. On February 26th, 2024, Jennifer got out of bed at approximately 9 o'clock and left the residence around 9:30 because she had a doctor's appointment scheduled for 10:15. Jennifer returned home between approximately 11 and 11:15. She believes Stephen was home at this time. I asked Jennifer what she and Stephen did when they reunited at the residence. Jennifer stated they had chatted for a little bit, and she asked, quote, "What happened?" unquote. I asked what she meant, and she stated Stephen had called her around 10:18 to let her know he and Madeline had not gone to McDonald's as planned. According to Jennifer, Madeline and Stephen had planned to leave early and have a special breakfast at McDonald's, and he would then drop her off at school early because she wanted to arrive early. Stephen told Jen that on the way to school, Madeline was very sleepy and she wanted to sleep, not get McDonald's, and she just wanted to get dropped off. He also wanted to let her know he left his phone home by accident and he had gone to the vape shop, but they had not opened on time. Stephen waited for a while in front of the vape shop, and after they did not open, he went back home. After hanging out with Jen for a while, Stephen left again to go to the vape shop to get what he needed. Jen then asked if I wanted the name of the vape shop because she believed it might be helpful if I wanted to look at surveillance. I then told Jen I was advised at some point Stephen had gotten a flat tire and he was not able to go to school with her. I asked Jen to advise me how she became aware Madeline was not at the school. Jennifer stated she normally left her residence at approximately 14:30 hours and waited about an hour for her to get out before the bell rang. Jennifer waited the entire time. When the bell rang, she noticed Madeline was not one of the first to come out like she normally was. Jen then realized she was holding up the parent line at approximately 16:10 hours. Jen drove away. Jen was not sure if Maddie knew she was going to pick her up. Therefore, she drove to her mother's workplace located at the address and checked on the way to see if she observed Madeline walking. When she arrived at her mother's job, she asked her if Madeline was there, to which she advised it was still too early. Jennifer then parked on the street to see if she would see Madeline walking. At approximately 16:30 hours, Jennifer knew Madeline should have reached her mother's office. Jennifer went back to her mother's office and asked if she was there and was told not yet. Jennifer then contacted Madeline's friend, Bestie, and asked if she was with Madeline. Bestie informed Jennifer Madeline had not gone to school and that she was not in the first or second period. She then asked Bestie, quote, "What do you mean? We dropped her off close to the school. She should have walked to school," unquote. Bestie informed Jennifer Madeline was not in any of their periods. Jennifer then began to panic because she believed something was wrong. Jennifer emailed a few of her teachers, and one replied saying Madeline had not made it to his class and had not made it to school at all. Jennifer began to freak out and called 911. I asked Jennifer if it was common for Madeline to not have her phone, which she stated it was common for her to forget it because she has ADHD and is extremely forgetful and loses track of time. I asked Jen to explain to me where she looked for Madeline. Jen stated after speaking with Bestie, she went to the school to confirm her attendance. However, it was already closed. Jennifer backtracked and then drove back to her mom's office. After Stephen heard Madeline did not show up, he went to Jennifer's mom's office. They all waited for law enforcement to arrive at Jennifer's mom's office, and they did not return home until they were done speaking with police. I asked Jennifer where Madeline's phone was at the time she had gone to pick up Madeline, to which she stated she had taken it with her when she went to pick her up from school. Jennifer advised when Madeline forgot her phone, she would bring it to her when she picked her up. Jennifer tried to look through Madeline's phone while waiting for the police. However, she was in a panic and handed the phone to her sister and niece. They both went through Madeline's phone and they did not see anything weird on her phone. I asked Jennifer where they looked for Madeline, which she stated was in the Hunters Creek area, and they returned home at approximately 2000 to 2100 hours. I asked Jennifer if they went back out after that, to which she advised Stephen had gone back out in the middle of the night in her vehicle. I explained to Jennifer her residence was going to be secured and everyone was going to have to stay somewhere else for the night. I also explained Stephen's car would be towed to the sheriff's office for processing because Madeline was last seen in Stephen's car. I provided Jen with my cell phone and asked her to let me know where she and Stephen were going to stay, and I explained to her she could call me at any time if she needed to speak with me. Second interview of Stephen Stearns. On February 28, 2024, Detective Acosta and I conducted a second digitally recorded sworn interview with Stephen Stearns. Below is a synopsis of his statement. I asked if I had consent to download his phone or if I needed a search warrant to collect the contents. Stephen said it was fine and provided me with his phone PIN 42586. I advised Stephen that while digital forensics was looking through Madeline's phone, they noticed there was a lot of communication between Madeline and him. I asked Stephen to explain to me the relationship between him and Madeline. Stephen stated that he was like a stepfather to Madeline and she thinks of him as a dad. I asked Stephen what he and Madeline spoke about when they would FaceTime, and he stated he would speak to both Madeline and Jennifer. When I asked Stephen if he recalled what time he had factory reset his phone, he stated he was not sure because he was not a morning person, but believed it was before he went to the smoke shop. Stephen then stated that the update had a option about reinstalling everything, and he was not paying attention to what he was doing. I asked if he could explain to me how he did the update, and he stated it was a push notification that appeared at the top, and he had ignored it for a long time. Stephen stated this took him to a page with a, quote, system, unquote, and he clicked something and was not sure what happened because he was not paying attention. After starting the update, the phone reset. I asked Stephen to explain to me what he did when he returned to get his key fob. Stephen stated he parked, ran inside to grab the key fob, got back in his vehicle, and left the complex for his, quote, morning mission, unquote. Stephen stated after he dropped Madeline off at 8:40, he drove directly to the smoke shop and waited approximately 5 or 10 minutes for them to open. I asked Stephen if he went anywhere else after the smoke shop, and he stated he was probably driving towards the direction of home and did not recall stopping anywhere. I advised Stephen his vehicle was seen heading south again at 10 o'clock and asked what he had done between the hours of 8:40 and 10 o'clock. Stephen stated he had been, quote, cruising around a little bit, unquote. I told Stephen he had originally stated he had been at the smoke shop for about 5 minutes and headed home. Stephen stated he may have been lingering in the area but had made his way home. I advised Stephen I needed help explaining why there was an hour and 20-minute gap, which he stated he was not sure what to say since it had been a normal day. Stephen again stated the smoke shop was supposed to open soon, and he made his way there and was not in any rush. Stephen again stated he was not able to explain the time delay since he had not gone anywhere in particular. I asked Stephen where he went after the smoke shop, and he said home. I asked Stephen if the smoke shop was 10 minutes from his residence, to which he stated it was 15 to 20 minutes. I reminded Stephen he had originally stated it was a 10-minute drive, and he advised time was not a strong suit of his. Detective Acosta asked Stephen what time the smoke shop opened, which he stated 10 o'clock. Detective Acosta then informed Stephen if it opened at 10 and he dropped Madeline off at 8:40, he would be going an hour before they were scheduled to open. Stephen stated he did not think it would be open, but he hoped he would get there early enough for them to open. Stephen then stated he had arrived about 15 to 20 minutes before they had opened. Stephen then stated he waited a few minutes after 10 for them to open, but he realized they were not opening and left. Detective Acosta stated he had not waited past 10 o'clock since his vehicle was heading southbound on John Young Parkway at 10 o'clock. Stephen stated his vehicle was still in front of the smoke shop at 10 o'clock, waiting for them to open and turn on the open sign, and I advised Stephen his time frame was not making sense. According to Stephen, he was trying to help us the best he could. I reminded Stephen what he had stated and asked how he was there at 10 o'clock when it was approximately a 10-minute drive from where he dropped Madeline off. Stephen stated he had taken no particular route to the smoke shop, but he had made his way there. I asked Stephen if he had issues with his memory, and he stated he was diagnosed with ADHD. He did not have his phone on him, and he was not sure of the time. I asked if he had a clock in the car, and he stated he believed he did, but it was not his car. Stephen then stated he was 90% sure he was in the smoke shop parking lot around 10 o'clock. I asked Stephen if when he returned to get his key fob, Maddie had gone inside with him. Stephen stated she had not because she was asleep. I asked Stephen again about the location where he got his flat tire. Stephen stated everything looked the same. He was drawing a blank about any specific businesses and only recalled pulling into a plaza. Stephen stated he was driving towards John Young Parkway and US 192 when it occurred. Stephen recalled going to Target on US 192 near Walmart and was going to go to House of Cards but got a flat tire somewhere before he got to Oak Street. Stephen was not sure how long it took to change his tire, but he returned home at approximately 14:35 hours. Stephen again apologized and stated his brain did not work properly because he had ADHD. While speaking with Stephen, I noticed he was wearing a blue shirt. In the videos from earlier in the day, Stephen was observed wearing a red shirt. Stephen stated he had not changed clothes since the previous morning and did not believe he had showered either. I asked Stephen if I could take a picture of his thumb, to which he advised it was fine. In the pictures, I noticed Stephen had a significant scar approximately 2 to 3 inches long on the top of his right wrist. Stephen also had minor scratches to the top of his left hand. I informed Stephen his phone was going to be downloaded overnight and he would probably not get it back until the following morning, and he stated that was fine. On February 28, 2024, at approximately 1 o'clock, I left Madeline's residence. Officers of the Kissimmee Police Department stayed on scene and assured nobody re-entered the residence. Detective Acosta maintained visual contact with the silver Lincoln MKZ, and it was towed by Ace Wrecker to the Orange County Sheriff's Office Central Operations Center, located at the address in Orlando, Florida. Detective Acosta also took Stephen's cell phone to the Orange County Sheriff's Office Digital Forensics Unit, where Sergeant Danko Dominic immediately began processing the device. On February 28, 2024, multiple detectives within the Orange County Sheriff's Office responded to the Central Operations Center and began assisting with the investigation. Several orders were authored, including a pin register trap and traced on Madeline's social media, a search warrant on the silver Lincoln, tracking orders on vehicles bearing Florida tags IYLL82, NVJS91, and IN49T1. That's going to be the Lincoln, I'm assuming Jen's car, and what's the other one? A search warrant on Madeline's residence, a search warrant on Madeline's Discord account, Google search warrant on the email address sustanet@gmail.com, and an infotainment search warrant on the GPS in the Lincoln. Please see all the supplements for further information. During this time, it was discovered Jennifer's vehicle had been driven on February 27th between the hours of 3:27 and 4:25 in the area of US 192. Jennifer's vehicle also traveled on February 28, 2024, between the hours of 4:42 and 10:55 between US 192 and southwest to Northport, Florida. After Stephen's phone had been successfully downloaded the morning of February 28, 2024, Sergeant Stimony within the Digital Forensics Unit contacted Corporal Avelia to advise him that there was child sexual abuse material, or CSAM, on Stephen's cell phone. During a review of the pictures, we observed several images that contained Madeline performing oral sex on a member. Madeline being penetrated both in the front door and the back door with a member, and Madeline posing nude. In these pictures, the background was readily identifiable, and we were able to determine these incidents occurred at the address. In a picture located on Stephen's phone, we observed a black mark near the tip of the shaft in a picture of a member. At this time, Kissimmee Police Department was advised of the findings, and Detective Illigan and Detective Morris responded to Central Operations Center. The search warrant for Madeline's residence was served on February 28, 2024 at approximately 8 o'clock. In the residence, detectives were able to locate several items observed in the CSAM images located on Stephen's phone. While conducting the investigation early on the afternoon of February 28th, members of Jennifer's family requested to travel to Orange County Sheriff's Office Central Operations Center and attend the sheriff's press conference. Jennifer and Stephen were offered a ride by Detective Hunt and Acosta. They agreed to the rides and were driven separately. Upon their arrival, Detective Illigan, Detective Morris, and I made contact with Jennifer. Please see Kissimmee case number 24-001809 for further details. As we spoke to Jennifer, members of the Violent Crimes Squad continued to canvass the area for video surveillance. And you can see the next part is heavily redacted. Detective Corporal Illigan and Detective Morris conducted a video and audio recorded sworn interview of Stephen at Central Operations. See Kissimmee Police Department case number 24-001809 for further details. After Stephen's interview, the Orange County Sheriff's Office Forensics Unit responded to Interview Room 1 in the Central Operations Central in reference to a DNA search warrant for Stephen. During this warrant, the CSI took several pictures of Stephen's body and member and collected all his clothing. Detective Junko and I located a black mark on Stephen's member, which was consistent with the member pictures on his cell phone. Pictures of Stephen's scar on his right wrist were also taken. Stephen was taken into custody for the arrest warrant authored by detectives with Kissimmee Police Department for sexual battery from the familial or custodial authority and possession of material sexual performance by a child. And then the bottom part of that is redacted. Top part of this is redacted, and it says conclusion. This concluded my involvement in the recovery of, it's redacted, we can assume it to be Madeline. Okay, so the next document is titled Orange County Sheriff's Office, firearm status, firearm class, related offenses, firearm type or category. It says narrative, February 28, 2024 at 18:51 hours. Response to, I'm going to assume that's the address. And it reads, on February 28, 2024 at approximately 7:38 hours, I, Detective Junko, responded to the address in reference to assist Detective Tangler with a search warrant at the residence. The above residence was located within the, and it's redacted, below is a synopsis of my involvement in this case. Scene security. When I arrived on scene, Orange County Sheriff's Office, or OCSO, Corporal Dale, and detectives from the Kissimmee Police Department were there securing the scene. I assisted with maintaining scene security until the Orange County Sheriff's Office Forensics Unit responded to process the residence. Prior to conducting the search, detectives at the site of the search were notified by detectives at Orange County Sheriff's Office Central Operations Building that there was evidence of sexual abuse towards Madeline, 13-year-old victim, at the hands of her stepfather, Stephen Stearns, 37-year-old suspect. The evidence was located on Stearns' cellular device. Some of the sexual abuse appeared to have occurred at the victim's address. Contact with victim's aunt and victim's grandfather. At approximately 9:54 hours, Maddie's aunt and Maddie's grandfather approached detectives on scene. I spoke with them, and a portion of our conversation was audio recorded by Detective Matthew Chang. Below is the synopsis of our conversation. And I have this video on my page if you want to watch it. Show you the thumbnail. It continues. Redacted and redacted requested an update and said detectives had already interviewed them. They did not have additional information to provide that was not already known. The aunt and grandpa were visibly emotional and appeared concerned for Madeline's well-being. The aunt said she did not believe Madeline ran away because she did not believe Madeline would do that. They described Madeline's recent birthday celebration and did not know of any reason why Madeline would be upset. To their knowledge, Madeline had not been in communication with any of their family members since she had been reported missing. Execution of the search warrant. In room number 1 at approximately 11:30, I assisted with searching a room in the residence on the second floor identified with a chrome number 4 on the outside of the door. Inside the room, I located a black backpack which had one orange bottle of, quote, solo lotion, unquote, in it. The back of the bottle identified the product as, quote, masturbation cream, unquote. I photographed the item, pointed it out to crime scene investigator CSI Janik, and she collected it. Madeline's designated space. At approximately 11:50 hours, Detective Surrey and Detective Chain and I made contact with Detective Tangler and Detective Cole via the phone. Via a video call, they showed us digital photographs of presumably Stephen Stearns sexually abusing Madeline. The purpose of viewing the child sexual abuse material, or CSAM, via a video phone call was to ensure the correct evidence was collected and preserved to the best of our abilities. We examined the clothing worn by both Madeline and Stearns, along with surrounding items such as sheets, blankets, and other articles of clothing. We were able to identify some of the items seen in the photographs in a downstairs area that was previously described by detectives as Madeline's room. The space appeared to be the living room of the apartment turned into a bedroom with a folding room divider between the bedroom space and the kitchen dining room area. This area was located on the far right of the apartment's first floor when you enter from the front door. The items we located were documented and collected by CSI Janik, and that's all redacted. Orange County Sheriff's Office Central Operations. I went to Orange County Sheriff's Office Central Operations Building. While there, I maintained security outside of an interview room where Stearns was located and was waiting to be interviewed. KPD detectives interviewed Stearns, and I monitored a portion of the interview electronically from a room nearby. At the conclusion of the interview, I assisted Kissimmee Police Department detectives with the collection of photographs, clothing, and DNA evidence from Stearns' person based on the signed warrant they had. I located a black freckle or a mark on Stearns' member that was visible in some of the photographs and videos found while examining the photographs and videos of Stearns sexually abusing Madeline. In the photograph used to compare the mark, presumably Stearns is wearing a red and white Deadpool shirt, which was seen in multiple photographs where Madeline was being sexually abused. Orange County Sheriff's Office CSI Avery Smith collected the evidence. The collection was conducted on the same audio and video recording as Stearns' interview. At some point, while Stearns was in the interview room, I took a vape pen from him, which I discarded in the trash at KPD's direction. Evidence examination. At one point, while examining the photographs of Madeline being sexually abused to ensure all potential evidence was collected, I located a photograph of Stearns with his face visible and his tongue on presumably Madeline's nipple. The photograph was titled as a JPEG and was found in an album full of photographs of child sexual abuse material of Madeline. Oh, I apologize. I was reading that last part, and now you see it's heavily redacted. The next page is completely redacted. The next page says Orange County Sheriff's Office. It gives us an incident report number, sex crimes unit, February 28th, 2024 at 1850, and then that was when Junko reported, and then when Officer Dale reported was March 5th, 2024 at 11:26. They're both from the Squad Sex Crimes. That's basically all that paper says. This is a narrative or supplemental report. On Wednesday, February 28, 2024, Detective Khalees with the Orange County Sheriff's Office Homicide Unit assisted in investigating a missing person juvenile. The juvenile was identified as Madeline. The following is Detective Khalees' involvement with the case, and the first part is completely redacted. It continues. Also, on Wednesday, February 28, 2024, Detective Khalees, along with Orange County Sheriff's Office Sex Crimes Detective Acosta, interviewed with Jen, I believe. This interview was conducted at the Orange County Sheriff's Office Central Operations Building. The interview was audio recorded and uploaded into evidence.com. The following is a synopsis of the interview. It should be noted Detective Khalees did not conduct the entire interview. After answering a few questions, Detective Khalees stopped the interview and waited for detectives from Kissimmee Police Department. The following is a synopsis of Detective Khalees' interview. During the interview, Jen confirmed that Maddie lives with her and that her boyfriend of approximately 7 years was Stephen Stearns. As the interview continued, Jennifer stated on rare occasions, on quote, rare, unquote, occasions, Maddie and Stephen slept in the same bed. According to Jen, the reason for this is so she could get some sleep because sometimes all three of them sleep in the same bed. Jen also confirmed with Detective Khalees that she and Stephen had been sexually intimate. Detective Khalees presented Jennifer with various images that were recorded from Stephen's cell phone. The first image was a hand placed on the buttocks of a white female. After viewing the image, Jennifer identified the hand belonging to Stephen. Next, Detective Khalees showed Jennifer a close-up photograph of a white male member. Jennifer viewed the photograph but was unable to identify the member. Detective Khalees then presented with another image of a member pulled over a pair of pants. Again, Jennifer viewed this image and identified this image as belonging to Stephen. Jennifer believed this was Stephen's member based on the clothing and blanket near the member. A few moments later, Detective Khalees paused the interview with Jennifer and waited for Kissimmee Police Department detectives to respond so the interview could continue. Detective Khalees did not participate in the interview with Jennifer once Kissimmee Police Department detectives arrived. On Thursday, February 29, 2024, Detective Khalees, along with other Orange County Sheriff's Office homicide detectives, conducted an extensive search canvass near Old Hickory Tree Road. The canvass was met with negative results. This concludes Detective Khalees' involvement with the case. This is another narrative that's heavily redacted. What I can see says, I was tasked with responding to the Orange County Sheriff's Office Central Operations Building to review images located on Stephen's phone by the Orange County Sheriff's Office Digital Forensics Unit. Upon reviewing the contents of Stephen's pictures and videos, I observed several pictures depicting what appeared to be Madeline being penetrated orally and in the front door by a member. There were pictures of Madeline both awake and asleep with her genitals and breasts exposed as the focal point of the pictures. It should be noted the member observed penetrating the victim had distinct marking on it which consisted of bright pinkish color skin below the head of the member until approximately a quarter of the length down the shaft of the member. Several other pictures capturing the distinct pattern were observed on the phone. Further, as I was reviewing the pictures and videos, I observed the member. Several other pictures capturing this distinct pattern were observed on the phone. Further, as I was reviewing the pictures and videos, I observed several different pieces of clothing to include patterned underwear, shirts, blankets, and sheets. Simultaneously, detectives of the Orange County Sheriff's Office were executing a search warrant at Stephen's home address. This address is also where the victim and her mother live. The detectives searching the residence were conducted and confirmed they found the same distinctive clothing worn by both Stephen and the victim in Stephen's room and the victim's room. The bottom says, this concludes my involvement with this investigation. For additional details, please refer to other reports submitted under this case number. And I cannot tell. I think this is Detective Cole from what I see at the very bottom. And the last page is a supplemental report. I cannot tell who it's from, and it reads, on February 27, 2024, at approximately 15:40 hours, I, Detective Acosta, responded to Osprey Park, located in Orlando, Florida, to assist in a missing juvenile investigation. The following is a synopsis of my involvement in this case. On February 27, 2024, Detective Tangler and I responded to the address to make contact with Stephen Stearns and Jennifer. Detective Tangler and I conducted digitally recorded interviews with both Stephen and Jen. Stephen provided verbal consent for Detective Tangler and I to review his cell phone in front of him. It should be noted Stephen's cell phone contained only phone calls, text messages, and other data from the last day. Stephen indicated he accidentally factory reset his cell phone on February 26, 2024, while attempting to update his phone. Stephen provided verbal consent for his cell phone to be taken by detectives for further examination. While on scene, Detective Tangler and I reviewed surveillance video from the address. Orange County Sheriff's Office Violent Crimes Unit continued the review of surveillance video. On February 28, 2024, at approximately 1:30, I accompanied Stephen's vehicle, which was being towed to 2500 West Colonial Drive in Orlando, Florida, which is Central Operations. On February 28, 2024, at approximately 2:40, I submitted Stephen's phone, described as a black Samsung cell phone, to our digital forensics unit located at Central Operations. On February 28, 2024, at approximately 15:12 hours, I transported Stephen from his hotel in Winter Garden, Florida, to Central Operations. The next part is completely redacted, and it reads, "This concludes my involvement in this case." Now that I have read the discovery to you, I wanted to read this to you. This was just e-filed on March 5th, 2025, the day before yesterday. This is the state of Florida versus Stephen Michael Stearns, and it reads, "Notice of supplemental discovery." It reads, "Comes now the state of Florida by and through the undersigned assistant state attorney and hereby makes the following information available to the defense and states as follows." Page 76, Orange County Sheriff's Office Incident Report, property of a Samsung black phone. Page 77, property Samsung black phone. Page 78, report narrative, supplemental report from Acosta. Pages 79 through 80. Incident report, officer summary. Page 81, incident report, narrative, supplemental report from Cole. Pages 82 through 84 is incident report, officer summary. Page 85, investigative details, supplemental report from Chang. Page 86 and 87 is the case number and victim information. Page 88 is a narrative supplemental report from Khalees. 89 through 90 is an officer summary. 91 through 99 is narrative supplemental reports. Pages 100 through 104 is a seized report. Pages 105 through 112 is Detective Junko's narrative. Pages 113 through 121 is forensics unit report from Janik. Pages 122 through 127 is narrative supplemental report from Junko. Now, why I'm reading you this is because that's the discovery that was just updated Monday, and it is now Friday. And it only goes to page 57. So I'm assuming there is more. And the way that that just ended with an officer narrative, that tells me that there is more. And I'm assuming it's just not released to the public. Reading the last part of this document, it says copies of items listed will be provided under separate cover. Previous discovery provided includes pages 1 through 75. Please verify receipt of all pages and notify our office of any missing pages or duplicate numbers of discovery. I certify that a copy has been furnished to Ms. Smith on this 5th day of March 2025. So I'm going to continue to try to find the complete discovery, but for now, this is what we have. It has been updated. I do appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for watching. If you want this document, the photos, audio interviews, and so much more on so many cases, I do have them on my Patreon, which I will link below if you would like to get access to those documents without the watermarks and things like that. Thank you again for watching this video all the way to the end, and have a wonderful day.